All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for Inside AFC Fitness. Wanted to get together some of our senior staff members and people who have been with us the longest to talk about 35th anniversary and just kind of the history and timetable of AFC Fitness. So before we get started, I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourself to everyone again, since you both have been here before. So Ashley or Carlos, whoever wants to go first.
You go first.
Ladies first.
Oh, and I also want you to give your tenure time frame because that's going to matter a lot for what we're talking about today.
Ooh.
Got to pick a number.
This is my 28th year, if I'm not mistaken. It's about that. This is 26. Actually, let's go 27. 99.
Rounding down.
98, 99. But
Okay.
I came. 98, 99. So 26, 27 in there. And been here training ever since. What else you want to know? What else we want to
Yeah, no, that's good. Just want to give everyone an idea of how long you've been with the company.
Yeah.
Been at Bala Cynwyd the whole time.
Been here the whole time. I've trained. I've taught at different clubs. Been out to Feasterville, taught some stuff out there, and
Jenkintown.
a little bit.
Jenkintown.
Yeah, Jenkintown.
Grant?
I was over at Jenkintown. Grant probably touched the least.
Yeah.
Out of all of them. Probably touched the least. Radnor, I've been over there. I trained a few people there when they first opened and stuff. But it's been a whirlwind. Changing, moving, different locations, but all good.
Yeah.
All good.
All right. Ash?
I've been with AFC for just 4 years right now. My anniversary was April 2022. Also been a whirlwind, just in 4 years, but a good whirlwind for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to get perspective from different people. Carlos, I think with Bala, existing building, AFC took over, which has been kind of the model for some of the other locations. And then Ashley going from the bare bones, like basically stripping down an old club and gutting it and renovation and pre-sale. So getting the perspective from both of you guys on all of that is interesting.
Yeah, the coming here, when I first came, the floor was wood. It was
The fitness floor.
the fitness floor was wood at the time. It had been all courts. So it was all racquetball courts when we first started. It was all courts upstairs because the club was all racket sports. So it was tennis and racket. Then it changed over. The floor was wood. The fitness desk was in the middle of the floor. And everything worked from off of that. And then over time, our fitness floor moved over. The floor changed. The floor plan of the equipment has changed probably 4 times, 5 times.
Was it always this whole entire building?
Yes.
It was always the whole building. I
Yes.
think one of the interesting things to your point, and this is kind of it, I don't know how many people, probably not a whole lot know this, but the sales area and like where some of the offices are was actually like a eating like cafeteria area, right? Wasn't it was like a lunchroom?
Yes.
Yeah, like I mean, like they had like full like cookers, like they served
like a cafe for the members.
Yeah.
Well, for the tennis, there was a lot of camps and things
where
like
the
that,
store used to be on the corner was actually kind of like the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was this woman that used to cook here.
Smelled like cheeseburgers upstairs.
It had nothing to do with being healthy, which was interesting.
Yeah.
It had nothing. It was just straight Italian cooking, rich in cheese and sauces, and it was just smell all over the building. It was pretty funny. But I remember when I first came in, it was good.
Yeah, it was very different. I mean, there's probably been 2 or 3 major renovations since I've been here, so I can imagine.
Was the gym
upstairs
still where the gym is, or was?
No, that used to be courts.
Those racquetball courts.
It was all racquetball courts upstairs. Those were all racquetball courts. And then where our fitness desk is now. No, that was in the middle of once the courts went away, then the floor was wood, like the courts, and then the fitness desk was in the middle of the floor.
Okay.
And then the gym came off of that. And then over time, then the fitness desk moved out to the side. The cardio equipment was where it is still, because those two courts, the two racquetball courts that are here now, were there all the time.
But spinning, that was racquetball all the way, like into the.
Yes.
Spinning was a racquetball.
Spinning was racquetball. Where Javala was racquetball.
Okay.
Yeah.
And over time, it's changed.
So, well, we're going to come back to Bala because over 35 years, Bala has been one of the mainstays. But for your club, what do you recall? Obviously, we first met. I think we met here, right? Did we meet here?
And then our second meeting, you took me over.
We took a walk. Yeah.
To visualize the space. In order to take the position.
Hopefully it seemed like I did a good job because you eventually took the job. But what were your thoughts kind of walking into that pre-sale and that construction and just kind of thinking about what that could be?
I mean, I guess we probably met I came to AFC in April, so I guess we probably met in March.
Yeah, it was earlier on.
Early March or late February. And, it was a serious construction site.
Yeah.
To even visualize what it would be was challenging at that point, but I could see your vision and knew that it was going to be an amazing space, it was a gym, but to make it an even better space than it was. But it happened quickly. It seems like almost overnight that, it was a concrete, like space that was, mildewy and, to, what it is today. I mean, and that happened by, late July, August. So.
Yeah. What was interesting about your club and that whole process too was there was probably almost like a year and a half. I'd have to ask Matt if you remember, but probably like a year and a half from when we first got into conversations about that being a location. It was almost like dead in the middle of COVID that we were kicking around this idea of this building to actually getting to the pre-sale. So even though construction went fast, I felt like it was 2 years of planning and preparing and everything else before we actually got to the point where, we had an easy up tent sitting out front and doing the pre-sale, all that stuff. So it was quite a progress, but you're right. Once we started construction, I felt like that actually wasn't that long. It seemed like it was pretty quick.
Yeah, it was within a matter of a month. It went from a space where you couldn't be to.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was quick.
Were you in that building before it was the previous tenant? I mean, I worked for them. I don't. And Ash, had you been there?
No, I'd been into the gym.
Yeah.
I'd been there just to check it out, but
didn't that would have been a cool, maybe something to think about before and some old school pictures. I'm sure I could track down some of what that, because of how much that renovation, the footprint's it's, obviously the layout and the pool being downstairs and the locker rooms is all, but the renovation that happened in that building is pretty amazing, I think, from the change that it went from. So I'm going to circle back to Bala then and kind of ask you a question. I'll see how much you recall of this. It doesn't have to be specific, but do you remember the first time coming into the club, who you met with, how you got the role of training?
Well,
was Les here? All that stuff.
When I first came, I have a good friend of mine, Joe Page, was a member of the gym before.
Okay.
He actually started the charity that the gym supports with me.
Okay.
He was a member here. It was a friend of ours from high school that wanted a trainer. So I came here and it was a different gym then.
Yeah.
The ownership was different. Les and them hadn't taken over yet. And then that was probably around 96. I think they took over in 98.
98, yeah.
I think that was 96. And then when I came back, that's when stuff looked different. The downstairs changed. the
Between
cooking,
96 and 98.
yeah, 96 and 98. The cooking area was gone. Was now the school. Was now the store.
Yeah.
Tennis was still where it was. The fitness desk, when I first got here, was what I said in the middle of the floor. But then when I came back,
You mean the middle of the fitness floor now?
middle of the fitness floor
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Like where that pole is.
Yeah, yeah.
It was right next to there.
Gotcha.
It was a circle desk right there. And then when I came back working here, I was actually working at a private club in Manioc. And a couple of my clients, the gym was pursuing them to come over. And so they said, well, I'm not coming over unless I can bring my trainer. And so the general manager at the time and the fitness director at the time started calling me. And I didn't really know who these people were that were calling me. I'm like, well, why are you calling me? They said, because we want you to come to the gym. We want you to work here. And I'm like, why? They said, well, one reason is your members keep asking for you. So I came by.
Who was calling? Do you remember who it was?
Kevin Schultz was the fitness director.
Okay.
And the general manager woman. Oh my gosh, I was just talking about her last week. She was just the owner of another gym and she just sold it. I cannot think of her name. Blonde hair. I can't.
Not
that's
Patty.
horrible.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I could not.
It'll pop in. We'll
But
say.
she was calling me, and then I came by. So I was at a gym in Manioc, and I was also at 2 gyms downtown. And I was probably getting about $1,500 to $2,000 worth of tickets a year, to be honest with you, because I was running around and I would just pull my car over, run in, train 1 or 2 people, run out, got a ticket, okay.
In Manioc.
Yeah, Manioc and downtown.
Yeah.
I just had tickets all over. So when I came here and I went, they have a parking lot. I'm already $2,000 ahead.
Yeah, you're ahead now.
If I just start working here, I'm already ahead. I saved money. So came in, and then when I first came, this was kind of funny. When I first came, so I was always, just in my sweats and shirts or whatever. And I would come in, train 1, 2, 3 people, then I would leave. Come in, train. And I never really took note that there was a uniform. So I looked around, and everybody had khakis on and red sweatshirts or red polo shirts. So I would just...
We went khakis back then?
All the trainers wore khakis?
Yeah, all the trainers wore khakis.
Like a physical therapist.
Yeah. Kind of that look. And a either a sweatshirt, red, or if you were off the clock, it was blue.
Oh, that's the different colors.
Yes.
Yeah, look, see, you already uncovered
something. That was
something.
the blue. That's where the blue came from. And we have a few trainers still here that can tell you some different stories about when
so there's
the
literally
blue
like a wardrobe change if you were off clock?
I feel like that used to be a thing with trainers.
I don't recall that at all.
So when you were on the floor, you had on red.
So that people would know to come up to you.
They would know that that's true. And then when you were off the clock and you were cleaning the mirrors or moving the benches or doing other stuff, you wore blue, which was interesting. You literally had to change. And I'll be honest with you, Kevin Schultz was on people. Excuse me, you're off the clock. Okay, put your blue shirt on and go clean the mirror and go move the chairs. So it was a little different.
The alternate blue shirt now finally makes sense. I don't know where they came. There's a pile of them.
Yes, yeah.
That's
so funny. I looked around and I said, Kev, do you want me to wear the uniform? And he goes, oh my gosh, would you please? He said, I was pretty much afraid to ask you to change out of what you were wearing. Because I was, I guess, the big scary ex-football player guy, right? So I said, Kev, I'll go buy some khakis. I'll wear the khakis. So I wore khakis and I changed. And then that was the uniform.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was it. Now
Yeah,
that stuff has become retro, right?
That's the retro. You see the
Everybody-
'90s. You saw them wearing that stuff.
Yeah, they want to wear it. They were
The,
like,
the
oh, this
blue
is
though,
cool.
I didn't know where the blue came because it's definitely always been black and red.
No,
so
the
now I get the blue.
The black came later.
And it was AFC at this point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was AFC, but the blue was when you were off the clock. See but when you were off the clock, you weren't really off work.
You know what? We have those blue polos at Radnor.
Well, those used to
they
be front
used to have
desk.
the cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to be different areas, but it was
Yeah, we used to do royal blue even here
Mhm.
for front desk staff and all that, and we changed
Okay.
to the black.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So it wasn't the vintage.
no,
ones.
they have different ones.
Okay.
The logo literally says, I think it says the Aquatic Club on
Yep,
the
something like
shirts.
that.
All right, so circling back to Radnor, jumping ahead 20 years to the newest club, kind of the bounce around here. Ash, do you remember, getting open and kind of those first few months? Like, what was the hardest part of that kind of window of time? Was it now would be 4 years ago in August?
So when we opened, I think we didn't spend too much time in starting in April, and then we opened in the 1st of August. We didn't spend too many months acquiring new members. So we opened with I think close to 200 members, which is nothing for that space. So it was creating hype and energy in that big of a space was challenging at first. In order to bring new people in and get them excited about being there, and creating the brand awareness in the area, and
Yeah, I
all
do
those
remember
things.
it felt like quiet in there sometimes,
was-
and it'd be
yeah, it
like
was-
it's our highest
People
peak
be
time.
like, "Are you gonna
Yeah,
be here in a couple months?"
Yeah.
So that was super challenging, and
It's not like that
reassuring
anymore.
and- no, not at all. It's bustling. And
Yeah.
we've come a long way, but that's something that pops into my mind as challenging. But we also tried a lot of different things. I mean, after COVID, opening a club after COVID was
Yeah, it was
changed the industry.
That was a challenge.
Changed the
right
industry completely. A lot of members went different directions, and joined boutique gyms, which weren't really a thing pre-COVID. So getting people back into it, and seeing what other people were doing in the industry. So trying to have front desk people be salespeople, and
Yeah, we tried
a bunch of
everything, yeah.
things that we tried that didn't work. It's so we had to scrap some ideas and come up with things quickly, and so there were a lot of changes that we made month to month, week to week, that we pivoted a lot
Yeah,
to make things work. in
we
the
definitely
beginning.
there was a fast evolution at your club of like trying what we normally do, then all right, we got to pivot here a little bit. This is a little bit different because of coming out of COVID and opening a new club, where the other clubs you're just getting people back in the building,
think-
right? They're already members.
Yeah, I think we all should have just trusted ourselves that we knew what we were doing.
Yeah,
We should have stuck
and just-
to a lot of things that we were doing previously, but
And gave
we
it
thought
time.
we had to evolve.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and the things that we continued to do, like personal training, were a success right off the bat.
Yep.
Because we did it the way we used to do it,
Mhm.
and so I think we made some of those mistakes, but we also succeeded in
Yeah.
a lot of ways too.
That's a really great point, though, actually, like, is trusting that we already knew how to do it versus
We
maybe
should've.
some second guessing
Yeah.
ourselves coming out of it because you wanted to be at a certain spot when we opened and we weren't there and thought we had to change something. But we realized
Right.
if you do look at your club now, it was the blueprint we had already had, right? It was
Forever.
our,
For the
it was the
most
same
part.
one. Yeah.
For the most part,
What's
yeah.
funny about your club, just like walk down memory lane and thinking of like the 35 years for the club as a whole and the company as a whole, I think about this club's had so many changes. I mean, major changes, small changes, but your club, even in the small window that it's been open, I don't know how many members that were there before when it was the gym, knowing what the spin studio used to be like at that club was really where your office is right now, and not much bigger than your office was. It was real tiny. And even the recovery space already being flipped and coming upstairs and doing some of those changes. And one of the ones, to your point, is the cafe, and us kind of just saying, we're just going to run and take that and do what Lauren does so well there. Like it's even that small window of time has been a lot of changes. So, all right, Lo, so going back to you, I'm going to ask you this, not to make you feel old,
Okay.
but to ask you, because you've been here for 27, 28 years, whatever it is. Did you think then when you got here, did you think it was just kind of like, I'm just moving my business over there because I'm trying to get rid of these parking tickets and then I would be there that much longer? Or did you kind of feel that coming?
That's a good question. First, I remember the general manager, Chris Dyer.
Oh, Chris. Yeah.
Chris Dyer was the general manager. I came, one, to get the tickets away, but when I came, I saw the growth. There was just more people, more members that I felt I could grow. But every year, probably for the first 5-6 years I was here, I never planned to stay this long. I always thought, okay, well, I'm here. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. I'm going to open my own gym.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something else. I mean, I went to the point where I looked at space downtown. I had blueprints done, drawn, but every time it kept going, I'm doing good here.
Yeah.
My business is still growing here. Why would I leave here? So it just kept growing. And so then it got to a point where I said, I don't think I really ever need, my ego didn't need my own club. I didn't need that. But the way I look at the business is the gym is my office. I'm here to help people. And a bigger office means I can help more people. There's a bigger space to help more people. And so I come to work every day. I come to my office and I go, okay, who can I help? Where's the person that I didn't meet yet that I could help? So that they kept turning over here. Why go anywhere else?
Yeah.
So it kept growing. So it kept growing and I kept growing. So it didn't feel like I needed to leave.
Yeah.
Really.
Ash, for you coming, like, your background and kind of progression is interesting. Like, so I'm going to go back before AFC to ask you the same question. Did you see as a personal trainer that what you're doing now is kind of what you wanted to get to, or did it just kind of evolve that way?
So after training for 6 years for me, like strictly training, I knew that, I wanted to do something more, know, so I went into teaching trainers and, so trying to affect people like you were saying, or help more people by teaching trainers to be better trainers. And then, that evolved into managing trainers. And it was when I made that step to, to teaching trainers, that's kind of how it kind of just trickled into an opportunity here and an opportunity, for the next.
So just kind of organically, just kind
and
of
then,
progressed.
I couldn't see myself going back. It takes a lot of stamina to do what you do every day, and mental stamina and physical stamina, and
in front of people all the time.
And to a certain extent we are too, but for that and being in front of somebody for an hour, and these people, you are a huge part of their lives. You spend more time with some people than they do with their families, having conversations and one-on-one time without screens and, that kind of stuff. So, I couldn't see myself going back to that after I got into the managing. And so two sides, like, I wanted to help more people, and then felt I could do that by managing and, help to make things better. And then also the other side, it was like, that's exhausting. Yeah.
Another thing that kept me here and helped me grow was my outside interests grew here also. So like I started a charity when I was here, International Student Athlete Academy, and the gym supported me in doing that, which they still do, and I appreciate. So even my outside interests, the gym became part of my outside interests, because in trying to help more people and then trying to help student athletes academically and athletically come into another environment, be comfortable, learn social skills, all of those things, the gym helped me also develop them in developing that. So I have to thank you and the gym for still supporting what we do with International Student Athlete Academy and allowing the kids to come in and be around and learn and grow. I mean, we've had kids come like Antoine Singleton, one of our better trainers now, came through our whole program, then ended up coming to work here. So it really became part of my life even more so, because then my outside interests came inside the building also.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you mentioned it that way. And Ashley, kind of go back to your question, and even for me personally, is a lot of times, when you think about why you stay somewhere or the industry that you get into that you stick to, right? There's a lot of people might do something because it's a means to an end. And that might be the initial reason they get into it. And then certain things like what you're mentioning, Lois, like they start getting kind of attached to each other, and for me, I got into this because I was a baseball player and basketball player, and I wasn't playing anymore, but working out had always been part of my in-season, off-season, everything else. So then I'm just like, all right, well, now I'm just going to hang out more at the gym. And then, eventually it turns into training and all of those stuff. So, but then even outside of individual interests, the community tie stuff starts to happen. And at all of our clubs, I think we've been able to tie that in some way, here, especially because of all the different entry points to the turf and the basketball court for youth sports and things like that. Ash, you've been able to have a couple different things with student athlete events, but that really does become even more of a tie, because then you start thinking, well, this is my job, right? This is what I do and to earn a living, but it also is like, it's a lot of what I like to do outside of work too. And that, I think for a lot of people, that ends up, those two things, when they find common ground, ends up being why we find staff and members staying with us, right? Because there's a lot of, I'm sure I talk to numerous people probably a couple times a week of, hey, my son does this at your club and I played padel, and so I just ended up joining. I actually ran into, this is just kind of off of this topic, one of my boys was in a baseball tournament in Maryland last week, and there was a kid guest playing on the team. He came out to me, he's like, hey, do you happen to work at AFC Fitness in Bala? I said, yeah. I said, I do. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm there 3 times a week. My son does baseball practice there, and I was there for padel, and just randomly ran into this guy at a tournament down there. And I think that connection of our common interests along with what we choose to do, as a career, ends up being that. And I think you're a perfect example of that, obviously, and being able to do that.
Yeah, because everything comes off of me being here, and from training to fundraising to having the kids come to, it's a different environment. When you come from different walks of life and then you come over here, it's just a different way of living. It's just a different setting that you aren't used to. So all of that takes getting used to. I remember when, let me see if I can clean this up a little bit. I remember when kids came and they walked in the locker room and guys were going in this steam room, and they had never seen that before. They were like, well, Mr. Carlos, they don't have any clothes on. They're going, I'm like, well, that's how you steam. Do you want to steam? Well, I don't think I do. I'm like, well, you just get a towel. You can walk in. So it was just different. It was just getting comfortable and getting used to different settings. Yeah. But it does become a lot of your life. But I think in a good way. Yeah.
No, I agree. With, thinking about all the time and the different experiences, and you and I, especially for a longer period of time, but Ash, even the time that you've been here, I was having like stories and thoughts of like very unique things that have happened to us here. So I'll start with you with your club. Is there any like distinct memory of like not necessarily non-AFC thing, but an event or something that kind of stuck with you, whether it was through construction or opening? There's one specific at your club that I thought of, but I'm curious to see like what kind of sticks out to you as like a core memory of like, I'll never forget that happened.
Well, we obviously are always out in the community and you know, finding people to partner with and events we can attend or be a part of, because it's always about, you know, making our community bigger and getting non-members in the building. So we always say. So there was an event in the area. It still goes on. You know, I won't say the name of the event, but it's basically a big car show in the main line. And
yeah.
So I talked to it was a young kid that runs these, and he does it very successfully now. But it was in the beginning of when he started to do these. And he approached me and said, you know, we're doing it in your parking lot, like we're in Brandywine's complex parking lot. And we will probably have about, you know, 100 people to 150 at the most. People, like, do you think it would be okay if like those people came in and like it's, you know, they got some breakfast or used your restrooms? And I was like, yeah, it's a Saturday. It'll be light. I can handle, you know, 100 people if it even is that many people. So agreed. And comes the day of the event, we're like regularly staffed, but I'm there. And it ends up being probably close to 15,000 people. Yeah. I don't even know. That's probably not an accurate number. I'm probably over exaggerating, but getting to the point where we made thousands of dollars at the cafe. I had lines of people at the bathrooms where we had to shut it down at that point. So, you know, had to turn people away.
Was it 150 like cars, right? And then it was everyone came.
It was more than 150 cars. This was an open event. It was something that people didn't have to sign up for. Oh, so people showed up with their cars.
Perfect weather day. You know, everyone showed up.
It was perfect weather. It was spring. It was all the things aligned. It got out. You know, there was no police presence, so there was, you know, insane traffic. You know, our members parking at the Giant across the street to come to the gym, and it was a lesson learned to verify certain things and questions to ask, to be able to offer those things to the community, but also it was a super surprise for them, making them doubly as successful. And you know, we signed up a couple members that day, so it ended up being worth it. It was just a wild.
Maybe staff a little bit differently, and I think
well,
I remember everyone's phone was going a little nuts.
Well, we did end up, you know, after that partnering with them again, you know, for while they were still doing the event in our parking lot, you know, and we're super staffed, and you know we're able to still capitalize, but it was very different. They had to get porta potties.
A little bit more controlled, yeah. All right, so you got a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, I remember when the first thought of putting turf down and changing the basketball court, because that was huge, because we had adult leagues, we had this whole police and firemen league thing going on, and I used to go down.
Were the basketball courts still here in this sports complex now? Where the turf is now is where the basketball courts are. Okay.
Full-length basketball court. And that, I mean, that league and that play, that was like a big part of a group that would come Friday nights, Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons. Usually I was breaking up a fight between two police officers. It just got to be a little much. But when the basketball court went and the turf came, that was a big change, because people had to get used to it not being here. And some of those people came upstairs. Some people left. But then when the new end came, and then they knew it was going to be basketball again, some people came back. But that was probably the single biggest change over outside of, then building the other end and the padel courts and the basketball courts and pickleball and that stuff down that end. That I remember was commotion in the gym. No, you can't take my basketball. No, I can't play. No, I only come to play basketball. No, and so all of that changed a lot. Changed the dynamic.
You and I chat a lot about that when we were first talking about it. If you remember, one of the reasons that came up was we had talked long before about I would like to have turf there, right? Yeah. But I didn't want to have one or the other. That was kind of always the conversation that we had, probably because of that league and other reasons. Like members were used to having that. So when we came out of COVID and took on this project, the sports complex, and the padel courts came up, and like, let's kind of split the difference here on doing 5 padel courts, because at that time, if you remember, I had like a waiting list for what was the old basketball court, because we were just coming out of COVID. Some things were open, some things were not open. Leagues didn't have anywhere to go. And so if you remember, when the construction was going on in the sports complex, the very first thing we did before everything else was done was the red court was completed. So you had to, probably for 3 months still, had to walk through like a construction concrete, like it was still tennis court on the ground, over to the basketball courts. And we bought those, the basketball like mats that you can get at Dick's, like just to get the dust and dirt off of your shoes. Everyone would have to step on those. And the red court was open. So the day we opened that, the turf got rolled out. So all inside 1 week, the basketball court was gone. The basketball court was over here. Turf was opened. And there was all those soccer leagues and everything else that were, for a while, just doing it on the basketball court, had turf. And so it was a threading of the needle a little bit of timing wise, but it really was all in 1 week. That was like,
yeah, I remember.
Came in and the basketball court was not there anymore, and that one was open. And for a few months, people would have to walk through all the construction to go to the basketball courts.
So me not knowing the vision already, I used to take Matt Lippman down to the court and go, can we knock this wall down? Can we just knock this wall down? Like, let's just take the turf all the way out. You can have CrossFit right here. That was before
to the other side. Yeah.
That was before he let me put the CrossFit stuff there too. So I said, we could have CrossFit here. It could be the dividing line between the turf. We could have turf. We could take the turf all the way out. Not knowing probably already there was the thought of the other side going on. But I kept saying, we don't need this here. We move this wall, extend the turf out, have 80 yards of turf. I could have all kind of teams coming in here doing stuff, not knowing that the thought was the other side to take that. So that was, when that all happened, I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Timing is everything.
That do this whole thing.
So it's funny you went the way you went, 'cause I thought you would think of something else. It is very specific to you and me. Do you remember the hurricane? I do not remember the name of the hurricane.
Yes, I remember that, because it was me and you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we had to park. I don't know if I've told you this before. Like, we knew the river, everything was flooding. Everything was flooding. And so Matt's texting me. I'm talking with Matt. I'm talking with him.
Hurricane Sandy?
It might have been Sandy.
Maybe.
That's the one that hit Jersey.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't even know if I can get down there, but I'll get down there. I get down, we park up at the train tracks. He's here already. We have to walk down the train tracks because Lower Merion's here. And they knew, I talked to them and said, you guys have to walk down and around. So we walk down and around, down the train tracks and back up. And the river is up to, was this close to the door?
The first time the river, it came into the parking lot.
So it was in the parking lot. It's close enough that the moisture sensing doors
were opening and closing.
And he and I walk in, and the first time I remember talking to Matt specifically, it was like, how bad is it? Because when did we not get water?
Yes.
You know, we did all this work on the roof and everything else, and we were able to fix a lot of different things. Right. And I said, Carlos and I are here. We've walked this building 3 different times. There's no water in the building anywhere, which was insane.
Yeah,
but that
was
river was
right
at
there.
the front door, and the door was just opening and closing, and to the point where I had to, when we left, I had to turn it off because the battery was just gonna like get shot. But that was, and then when that all calmed down, if you remember, all of the landing, because I think the landing had just opened,
Yeah.
all of their furniture
Yes, it
and
floated
Cornell
down.
was all down where our dumpster is, because it had
Wow.
just flowed down in the river down to here. And so me and I think probably you or some of the trainers we like had, and Melissa, I think at
Yeah.
that point,
Carrying
we
the stuff down.
carried it down or put it in our cars and drove their furniture back down to the.
So
Wow.
with and they had always said if the water came into our parking lot, because we're higher than Manioc,
Yeah.
that Manioc's first floors are gone.
Yeah.
And that's exactly
That's
exactly
exactly what happened.
There
Yeah.
was no first floors over on Manioc's side, because I'm like, the water's in the parking, like when it used to come up like 4 feet, 3 feet, not into the parking lot. I'm like, man, this was right there. They were already flooding over there.
Well, because it was at the brew pub. If you were ever in there, this is before the last
With
one.
the lines
There's a
on the
line
wall.
on the pole that's like 10 feet up. It says this is where this storm got to, and this storm got to.
that
But this
there.
was much higher than that for sure.
Yeah, when it came in the parking lot, I'm like, wait a minute, no first floors. And man,
I just can't believe there wasn't even like a puddle on a tennis
No-
court.
no
there was like
water.
nothing.
there was walked in dry building. It was crazy.
Blessed.
It's,
Oh.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
It
to
looked
be
like it
honest
was
with you.
just like moved and brought back or something. Like it was just saved.
I-
'Cause it was water everywhere.
We
else.
both took pictures of it, but if you look, I'll have to find them. Maybe I'll send it. We can post it with this. But like the water, it came down like the road, went down back to the river, and down like just was carved. Looked like the building was carved out around
Yes.
where the water was flowing. Just like the way the angle of the asphalt was and all. But so it was up past the building on the end, but it just like went around
Yeah.
and back up
just
and just
came
flowed right
down.
past. So it was pretty
Because
interesting.
That whole landing thing, all of their outdoor stuff,
Everything.
was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
done.
they're
And
done.
then it just floated down to us, and then it looked like it dipped around and then came back up.
Yeah, so we took a picture in the train
Bizarre.
tracks. You could see the shape around the building.
It was bizarre.
All right, so all of this, there's probably a million. I probably could do another hour of this, of talking about this stuff, especially here, because just so much has happened, and I've only been here for half the time you've been here, which I feel like I could probably talk about you telling people that I wouldn't last, but we'll talk about that later. As far as like the trends of our industry, right? There's a lot of things that we have gotten into. I know me personally, probably the thing I've leaned into the most over the years was kettlebells with you. Is that I like really got into, and still to this day do keep it incorporated in some way. But is there a fitness trend that maybe came and went that you're like, I'm glad that that's gone, or one that you think kind of went away but you think might come back around, right? One of those kind of cycles that happens sometimes with things.
Well, kettlebell has stuck, not just with me, with other trainers, with other people. That class still lasts and still well attended. CrossFit came and went, but I think CrossFit has tried to transform itself into DECA,
Yeah.
into different things, because they still want the same type of workouts, but under different names. I thought the TRX would grow more
Yeah.
than it has, because I think it's a great piece of equipment.
That's a good one. Yeah, I didn't think of that one. But
Yeah,
I
I
thought
just-
that would be
Yeah, I
bigger.
thought it would just grow out more because it's body weight, but it could be very, very challenging.
Yeah, the same pieces of equipment came to my head too, and like you said, I think there's always going to be the new thing. The core principles are the same, like you said, like with the CrossFit.
The
and
CrossFits, the movements
and,
matter,
yeah,
right?
the-
That's
the
really
strength training, and which wasn't always a core aspect of people's fitness, over the past 20 years. But now it's so huge. But I think there'll always be something new and trendy. And I don't think, as long as this industry is the, multi-billion-dollar industry that it is, that will ever stop. But I think the core principles will stay the same. Yeah. It's just what are you using to accomplish that?
Yeah. What we're literally seeing now, and me and you definitely know this because we talk about equipment, is the equipment is going back to the old equipment.
Yeah, it's true.
It literally is
the
going
simpler,
back to the simpler press and shoulder press and leg. It's just simpler machines. Now, I saw one yesterday where it was a big piece of equipment where it was leg extension, immediately stop your extension, flip something up, and begin leg pressing. First time I had seen it. Huge piece of equipment. There was stuff up here. It was like a big box. But the changing back to equipment from the 70s and the 80s. Like, I think you can only go so far with equipment. And I think the technology of the AI stuff and all that with the trainer in the box thing on the wall and all that, I think that coming of age, but that still does not replace the personal trainer.
Yeah.
Motivating you and trying to encourage you to do more and knowing you and being able to touch you and know when that's enough or you can go a little harder. I think those trends in the industry won't change. I think there will always be a place for personal training.
Well, yeah, I think it's very different, being in front of a screen or doing a subscription versus the accountability of having someone right there with you, holding you to, a standard that you need to hold yourself to, especially with weight training, for sure.
I can shut off the computer. I can't shut you off.
Yeah, you can't make me go away, right? Like,
but
that
going back to the equipment is, they can develop it out so far, but then it comes back to what you said, the base movements.
Yeah.
Got to be simple.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys. I probably have a million other things here that I didn't even get to because I had a feeling it would be more conversational and that we'd be able to kind of walk down memory lane a little bit. So it was fun. So, but appreciate you guys coming here and doing this with me.
Nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you.